How to become emotionless. Have you ever wished you could stand strong in the face of emotional storms, not getting swept away by anger, anxiety, or sadness? Have you ever admired someone who stays calm no matter what's going on around them, and wondered, how do they do it? What if I told you that emotional balance, what some people might call emotionlessness, is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending not to care, but rather mastering a deep and sacred wisdom? In today's episode of Zen Buddhism Wisdom, we're going to explore an ancient Buddhist story, and draw life-changing lessons from it that will help you rise above emotional suffering, find peace amidst chaos, and uncover the hidden power of mindful detachment. Stay with me, because in the middle of this video, I'll share a real-life story from a Zen monastery in Japan that completely changed the way I view anger and sorrow. Let's begin. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village nestled in the lush valleys of Nepal, there was a young man named Rohan. To the people in his village, he was something of a mystery. When Rohan was a child, he wandered deep into the forest near the village. There, in a cave, he met an old monk who was meditating. The monk immediately sensed something within Rohan, a storm of emotions, still unexpressed and unrecognized. "My son," the monk said gently, "you are not suffering because of what happens to you, but because you cling to it." That phrase, that suffering doesn't come from events but from clinging to them, was one of the core teachings of the Buddha. The monk began to teach Rohan about mindfulness, the art of observing thoughts without judgment, watching emotions arise and pass like clouds in the sky. This became Rohan's daily practice, sitting under the Bodhi tree, breathing mindfully, and observing his emotions from a distance, not letting them overwhelm him. Gradually, something began to change. Let me pause here for a moment. The word emotionless can be easily misunderstood. In today's world, emotionlessness is often associated with coldness, indifference, or apathy. But in Buddhism, this concept is much deeper and more subtle. Emotionlessness in Buddhism isn't about not having emotions. It's about equanimity. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches, just as a rock is not shaken by the wind, a wise person is not moved by praise or criticism. That's the secret to Rohan's calmness. He felt his emotions, but he didn't let them control him. As Rohan practiced mindfulness, he began to realize an important truth: emotions are not you. They are just visitors, guests passing through the house of your mind. And like all guests, they will eventually leave. He would watch his anger rise, name it, "This is anger," and let it go. He would feel sadness, recognize it, but not cling to it. And in the space of non-reactivity, something miraculous happened: peace. Here's a beautiful Zen metaphor: the mind is like the sky. Emotions are just the rain. Don't define yourself by the rain. Remember the sky. Another misunderstanding is that detachment means not caring about others. But in Buddhism, detachment must go hand in hand with compassion. Rohan learned this from his teacher. He began helping the villagers with their grief, listening to their pain, offering support. But he didn't carry their pain as his own. That's the subtle point: love deeply, but don't cling to it. This is the principle that the Bodhisattva path is based on: to stay in the world, help others awaken, but not to be bound by it. Now, I want to share a real-life story that reflects this teaching. At a Zen monastery in Kyoto, a young monk became angry when his master scolded him for a mistake he hadn't made. Enraged, he stormed out into the garden, fists clenched, breathing heavily. An older monk approached and sat down beside him, saying nothing. After a long silence, the old monk spoke: "If you hold anger like you would hold a teacup, carefully, mindfully, without letting it spill, what would happen?" The young monk looked down, and suddenly, everything became clear. That was the turning point, not in extinguishing his anger, but in learning how to hold it mindfully, like a teacup. That's mindfulness. That's emotional mastery. Years later, feeling he had more to learn, Rohan traveled to a monastery in the Himalayas. There, he began studying Vasana, the subtle imprints that the past leaves on the mind, and how they unconsciously shape our emotions. Under the guidance of Master Li, Rohan began to explore not just mindfulness, but the roots of emotions. He faced his fears, attachments, and childhood wounds, not to erase them, but to understand them. Because in Buddhism, liberation doesn't come from running away from emotions, it comes from walking through them with awareness. Rohan returned to the village, a changed man. He still laughed with the children, helped his neighbors, and cried when losing loved ones, but without clinging to sorrow. The villagers said he had become empty like the sky, yet full like the river. And perhaps that's what we all need to strive for, not to become emotionless in the Western sense, but to become ripe with emotion. Ripe with emotion in Buddhism means recognizing your emotions, understanding where they come from, not acting impulsively on them, responding clearly, and letting go without guilt. When Rohan knew his life was nearing its end, he gathered the villagers beneath the Bodhi tree. He reminded them, emotions are the colors of life, but don't let one color define the entire picture. He taught them to embrace life as it is, fully feeling, but not clinging to anything. And then, with a peaceful breath, he passed away. The villagers mourned. But they also celebrated, because his lessons had sown the seeds of peace in every heart. Here are 5 powerful lessons we can apply. 1. Observe without judgment. Your thoughts and emotions are not bad. They are just clouds. Observe them. 2. Name your emotions. Neuroscience shows that naming emotions reduces their intensity. Buddhism knew this thousands of years ago. 3. Pause before reacting. A mindful breath is the space between impulsiveness and wisdom. 4. Cultivate compassion, not attachment. Love deeply, care sincerely, but let others walk their path. 5. Accept impermanence. Emotions will pass. People will change. You don't have to hold on forever. The goal is not to become emotionless or stiff. The goal is to become like the lotus, roots deep in the mud, but rising up, untouched, reaching for the light. In a world full of reactions, the ability to remain steady, to feel but not cling to anything, is not weakness, it's the greatest strength. So I ask you, what emotion are you running from? What if, instead of running, you sat with it? What if you became friends with your sorrow, anger, fear? Maybe, like Rohan, you too would become the source of peace in your own life, and in the lives of others. If Rohan's story has touched your heart, please support the Zen Buddhism Wisdom community. Like this video if it brought you clarity. Comment below, what emotion do you find hardest to face? Share this video with someone who needs peace. Subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to never miss the next Zen story. And remember, you are not your emotions. You are the observer of them passing by. Thank you for walking this path of understanding with us. Until next time, keep your mind still. Be free.